Sign me up for Fever links every time. That looked like maybe the two best teams in the league to me, trading blows. Olivia Miles continues to just make a statement as a rookie. There's a reason she's in the MVP conversation as well, but she's got a lot of help and depth on that Lynx team. Nafisa Collier just came back. That's deadly. Kayla McBride is a deadly shooter. Courtney Williams is a master in the mid-range, and the Lynx are just a...
Look at that. Two teams trading blows at the highest level. And this is what playoff basketball in May looks like. The Minnesota Lynx just rattled off their 10th consecutive win, and the Indiana Fever walked into Target Center riding a 5-game winning streak of their own. Something had to give. But here's what nobody's talking about. This wasn't just about who won or lost on Sunday. This was about whether the Fever are actually ready to compete with the league's elite, or if they're still a tier below when it matters most.
But when you play late on the West Coast, you travel to Minnesota, and you play an early game on Sunday versus a team that hadn't played on Thursday, at least since Thursday, that's a real advantage for the other team. And you might have seen that in the rebounding department. I think in this game, it was 33-23. The Lynx out-rebounded the Fever. That may have been the difference in the game, considering both teams were out of control. Offensively, both teams shot 57% from the floor.
That schedule detail matters more than people want to admit. The Fever played in Portland late Friday night, then had to fly to Minneapolis and suit up Sunday afternoon against a Lynx team that hadn't played since Thursday. Fresh legs versus tired ones. And you could see it on the boards. Minnesota out-rebounded Indiana 33-23. That's a 10-rebound gap, and in a game this tight, that's everything. The Fever's big three, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aliyah Boston, combined for 71 points. But when you're getting nothing from your bench, and the other team is rotating 4 players in double figures, depth becomes the difference.
Really early, this play, one of the best plays of the season. Clark takes it across, gives it up to Boston, swings it out to Mitchell. Cash. That's just as pretty as basketball gets, right? And Caitlin Clark continues to make real strides in the mid-range. They brought that up a bunch on the broadcast, but she is basically, she's outdone herself over her first 2 years from the mid-range just in this year so far. And that's how she's become a real 3-level scorer. She didn't have her best game, but still had a very...
This sequence right here is why people are paying attention. That ball movement, that chemistry between Clark, Boston, and Mitchell, that's not something you can manufacture overnight. The Fever have figured out how to play together, and when they execute like this, they look unstoppable. But execution isn't the issue anymore. The issue is consistency from anyone not named Clark, Mitchell, or Boston. Lexi Holt has been invisible for weeks. Sophie Cunningham hit 1 shot in this game. 1. And when your role players disappear against elite competition, your stars have to be perfect. And perfect is a lot to ask when you're playing on 36 hours rest.
Scoring. Miles had 23 points in the first half. The Fever couldn't stop her. Her layup package is crazy. They started trapping and blitzing her in the second half, which worked pretty darn well. But, they were down 11 at the half, partially because of what Miles was able to do. And when she's able to shoot the 3, that makes the biggest difference. So this sidestep 3 that she hit right here, like, come on. I mean, if she keeps up that consistently, it's spooky. And then she's got such a great layup package getting to the lane. So a really good game from
Olivia Miles dropped 23 points in the first half alone. 23. The Fever couldn't stop her at the rim, couldn't stay in front of her on drives. And when she started hitting sidestep 3s like that, it became a serious problem. Here's what makes Miles so dangerous. She's not just a scorer. She's a facilitator who can score, which means you can't just sell out to stop her. You have to respect her passing. And the moment you do, she's attacking downhill with one of the best finishing packages in the league. The Fever adjusted in the second half, started trapping and blitzing her, and it worked. She barely scored after halftime. But by then, Indiana was already down 11, and they spent the rest of the game clawing back.
Despite not really getting anything from anybody but the big 3, Lexi Holt she's been MIA. She showed up a little bit in the second half finally. Sophie Cunningham only hit 1 shot. They barely got anything from anybody not named Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aliyah Boston, and they were right there. They were right there. That has to be encouraging overall if you're the Indiana Fever. I would say. Come at me, bro. But that's what I would say, because Caitlin Clark is playing the best basketball of her career. Kelsey Mitchell is completely unstoppable. They still have Aliyah Boston. They get anything from anybody else.
This is where the Fever showed they belong. Down for most of the game, tired legs, no bench production, and they still fought back to within 2 points late. Kelsey Mitchell was unconscious all night. Caitlin Clark kept making the right reads, and Boston was doing the dirty work inside. But then came the sequence that killed them. Watch this. Clark has the defense collapsing, finds Boston wide open for three, and Boston passes it up. Then she travels. That's a turnover instead of a potential lead. Clark's frustration was visible, and rightfully so. That's a shot Boston has to take, especially in that moment. Then Clark missed 2 clean looks from 3. Mitchell missed a wide-open corner 3, and suddenly the game slipped away. Sometimes the ball just doesn't go in. But when you're playing against a team as deep and talented as Minnesota, you can't afford to miss those opportunities.
The subplot continued to be the Sophie Cunningham stuff, and you know, the protesters and counter protesters and stuff outside the building. I thought this was interesting. I wish I could be a fly on the wall for this conversation. Cheryl Reeve and Sophie Cunningham were clearly deep in dialogue at one point before the game, which is how we all should be, right? That's how we don't allow any of this stuff to take away from what's taking place on the court and the floor and the action. But I just thought that was interesting. Not going to dive back into all of that, but found it interesting that those two met up and had what would seem to be a cordial conversation before.
This moment right here, Cheryl Reeve and Sophie Cunningham in conversation before the game. This is what professionalism looks like. There were protesters outside the arena, counter-protesters, all this noise surrounding Cunningham's personal life and her public statements. And in the middle of all that chaos, you've got the opposing head coach and the player at the center of it, having what appears to be a genuine, respectful conversation. That's how you handle controversy. You don't let it become bigger than the game. You don't let outside noise dictate how you interact with people. You have the conversation, you move forward, and you play basketball. Both of them deserve credit for not letting the circus become the story.
The game, as is, hats off to the Minnesota Lynx. They're going to be tough for anybody to beat, but so are the Indiana Fever. They may not be perfect. They're certainly a flawed team. They could use another wing defender. They could use a little bit more scoring from somebody not named Boston, Clark, or Mitchell. But as is, they're still, I think, a problem. And I still think overall, that's not a loss I come away mad at. It's just not.
So let's talk about what this game actually means. The Lynx are the best team in the WNBA right now. 10 straight wins, elite depth, a legitimate MVP candidate in Nafisa Collier, who just returned to the lineup, and a rookie in Olivia Miles, who's already playing like a veteran. They're the team to beat. But the Fever, even in a loss, proved something important. They proved they can compete with the best. They were right there despite every disadvantage you could imagine. Quick turnaround, travel fatigue, no bench production, getting destroyed on the boards. And they still had a chance to win in the final minutes. That's not a loss you walk away from feeling defeated. That's a loss you build on. Because here's the reality. Caitlin Clark is playing the best basketball of her career. Her mid-range game has become a legitimate weapon, something she's developed over the course of this season that makes her a true 3-level scorer. She's not just hunting threes anymore. She's picking defenses apart from every spot on the floor. Kelsey Mitchell is completely unstoppable right now. She's shooting with confidence, moving without the ball, and hitting every big shot the Fever need. When you have 2 guards playing at that level, you're dangerous against anyone. And Aliyah Boston is doing all the things that don't show up in the box score. She's setting screens, crashing boards, making the right passes, defending multiple positions. She's the glue that holds everything together. The problem is depth. The Fever need more from their role players. They need Lexi Holt to show up consistently. They need Sophie Cunningham to be a threat. They need anyone, to step up and give the big three some help. Because when you're playing the best teams in the league, 3 players isn't enough. The Lynx proved that. They had 5 players in double figures, and that depth is what carried them through. But here's what I keep coming back to. The Fever are still figuring it out. This is a team that's been rebuilt on the fly, that's dealing with constant media attention and scrutiny, that's navigating controversies that have nothing to do with basketball. And despite all of that, they're competing with the league's best teams. They're in every game. They're developing chemistry and identity in real time. That Lynx team has been together for years. They know who they are, they know their system. They have veteran leadership and championship experience. The Fever are still learning how to win these games. And the fact that they're this close already should terrify the rest of the league. Because imagine this Fever team with one more reliable scorer. Imagine them with a wing defender who can take pressure off Clark and Mitchell. Imagine them with the same continuity and experience the Lynx have. That's a championship contender. Right now, they're a flawed team. They have weaknesses you can exploit. But they're also a team that can beat anyone on any given night if their stars are rolling. And their stars are rolling more often than not these days. So when I watch that game, I don't see a team that got exposed. I see a team that went toe-to-toe with the best in the league under the worst possible circumstances, and nearly pulled it off. I see a team that's building something real, something sustainable, something dangerous. The Lynx won this round. They're the better team right now, no question. But if these two teams meet in the playoffs, with the Fever having home court and fresh legs and their role players contributing even a little bit, that's a series. That's a real series. And that should excite every basketball fan watching this league. So here's my question for you. Are the Fever actually contenders right now? Or do they need another piece before they can seriously challenge for a championship? Because I'm starting to think they're closer than people realize. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you want to see more WNBA breakdowns like this, and subscribe because we're covering every major storyline in this league all season long.